Hiya! Good morning, Australia. I'm Jane Gazzo, and it's a pleasure to host this very special occasion. On behalf of the American-Australian Association, I'd like to thank you all for joining us from your homes and your offices across the US and Australia. Now, normally we'd all be sitting down to dinner at Cipriani right now, and while we all wish we could be there together in person tonight, we're so honoured that you've chosen to join us for our first ever, and hopefully last ever, Virtual Gala. We're here to celebrate and highlight the important relationship between our two nations, helping to bring us all together while we're apart. And most importantly, to imagine the path we'll forge as we move forward together. I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to the AAA's two distinguished honorees, Kathy Warden and Peter Farrell, both of whom we'll hear more from later. Heartfelt congratulations to you both for your well-deserved recognition and award. Thanks Kathy, Peter and their respective companies also for the generosity of their support. Special thanks to benefactor Anthony Pratt and Pratt Industries. We also extend our heartfelt thanks to each of our Platinum supporters for their generosity. Allen & Co, Fox Corp, Green Spring Associates, Morgan Stanley, Natixis and Affiliates, and News Corp, along with all our other featured supporters. The program also includes an online giving and silent auction portal. To register to donate or bid on silent auction items from your mobile device, text the number on the screen to receive your sign-up link. Please help support this wonderful organisation by opening your hearts and your wallets. Now, let's kick off this celebration because we have an exciting hour in store for you.
Allies for a brighter tomorrow. America and Australia have stood by each other through good times and bad. Together we've braved world wars and pandemics and advanced peace and prosperity for all. We're always stronger together. Since 1948, the American-Australian Association has celebrated and supported the special friendship that exists between two of the greatest nations on earth. We have far more in common than what separates us. And the AAA works to strengthen the dynamic economic bond between Australia and America and to promote greater opportunity through cultural and academic exchanges. We're both nations of many, many faiths, many races, many backgrounds. This diversity is our greatest strength. As nations, we are both young and old, with Indigenous cultures that are a vital part of each country's fabric. Our programs embody this diversity, and the inclusion of Indigenous graduates, veterans, and artistic scholars is a core part of our mission. We shine a light on the most innovative solutions, both business and academic, being pursued today, and lay the groundwork for an even more prosperous tomorrow. America and Australia have shared over 100 years of mateship as committed defence partners. We've grown as economic partners to over $1 trillion in trade and investment. We've excelled in academic, scientific, and cultural partnerships, from Hollywood to medical research to outer space and more. Now, 2020 has been a year unlike any other. And for many, that meant battening the hatches and closing ourselves off from the world. But at the AAA, we know this is not the way forward. Only greater understanding, unhindered collaboration, and a spirit of, as we Aussies call it, mateship, between nations will lead us to the future we all want to live in. America and Australia will and must go forward together. Drawing upon our deep and abiding partnership and the talents of all our people, we will craft the best path and rekindle true hope, making the world better for our children and grandchildren.
Hi, I'm John Barry, President of the American-Australian Association. On behalf of our board of directors, welcome to our 2020 celebration of the deep and abiding friendship between America and Australia. Though half a world apart, we have far more in common than what separates us. Key values such as the freedom of speech, the rule of law, commitment to freedom and human rights. The AAA works to strengthen those bonds. For more than 70 years, the American-Australian Association has worked closely with governments and senior business leaders and helped enhance economic engagement and the creation of hundreds of thousands of well-paying jobs in both countries. This is exemplified by the leadership and deep commitment to the bilateral relationship of our two honorees, Kathy Warden and Peter Farrell. Through our philanthropic programs, we have also granted over $12 million in scholarships and grants to over 800 American and Australian graduates, veterans, and artists to undertake study in each other's countries. During this critical year of 2020 alone, our talented team directly gave over $3 million US to help the Australian Red Cross, Wires New South Wales, Wildlife Victoria, and the Zoo and Aquarium Association of Australia to help Australian communities and native wildlife recover from the impact of the worst bushfire season ever. Also, we created the first AAA Northrop Grumman Wildfire Research Scholarship to fund research on how to better handle future fires. We also funded medical and scientific research, which is helping in the fight to find a cure for COVID and other important areas to better the welfare of humanity. We gave veterans a new start in life, and we developed a new generation of leaders for our thriving and vibrant Indigenous communities, and strengthened our resilience through the imagination and creativity of our artists. But we can't do it without you. It's been a tough year for all of us, and we need your help now so that we can move forward together and keep making the future bright in both our countries. Every dollar that you give will help support more graduate education, veteran and artist scholarships in 2021 and beyond. We can't let the COVID crisis slow the progress we make when we support cross-cultural exchanges. With your help, we can continue to enable the next generation of leaders and develop innovative solutions to our emerging challenges. Please give generously. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you enjoy the remainder of our evening.
Here to introduce tonight's honoree, Kathy Warden, Chairman, Chief Executive Officer and President of Northrop Grumman. Is Christine Zeitz, General Manager, Asia Pacific Region.
Somewhere past the edge of convention, beyond the boundaries of tomorrow, lies a special kind of impossible. A kind of impossible where pioneers forge ahead. Where no idea is too bold and no challenge too great. Because Australia's coastline is too vast to monitor until it's not. Predicting cyber attacks before they happen is impossible until it's not. And solving the mysteries of the universe is impossible until it's not. It's our job to break free from what is to what could be. Ready to leave the boundaries of what's known. To define possible. Northrop Grumman.
Good evening. My name's Christine Zeitz and I'm the General Manager Asia Pacific for Northrop Grumman. It's my great pleasure to introduce tonight's honoree, the Chairman, CEO and President of Northrop Grumman, Kathy Warden. Kathy has had a distinguished career, joining Northrop Grumman over 10 years ago to lead mission systems and information systems sector, culminating in her appointment as CEO last year. In that time, she has led the company through incredible growth, not least in Australia, where not long ago we had a handful of employees, and under her leadership, we're now closing in on over 1,000 people. That growth and investment is recognition of the extraordinary ties that bind our two countries, a shared history of mutual support and a common set of values. Kathy is the embodiment of these, and I know a true believer of the possibilities for our two countries. So please join me in welcoming Kathy Warden as we honour her for her outstanding leadership of the security of our nations and enriching the US-Australia economic relationship.
Thank you, Christine, for that kind introduction. As the CEO of Northrop Grumman, a US headquartered company with deep and fast-growing roots in Australia, it is truly an honor and a privilege to accept this award. For over 70 years, the American-Australian Association has been dedicated to deepening and strengthening the partnership between our two great nations. Given the unprecedented circumstances we currently face, the support of the American-Australian Association to help strengthen our bond is even more important. Our two countries share a long and proud history, one built on trust, with a strong tradition of helping each other when the need is greatest. And that trust will be the bedrock on which we are building a new era of cooperation, working together to help confront and overcome the global challenges we face together. As a company, our purpose is to help our customers advance freedom and security around the world. We are committed to investing in Australian capabilities, technology, and skills in education, and we are proud to be a part of the fabric that ties the US and Australia together. The American-Australian Association has and will continue to provide a valuable forum for us to address issues and strengthen our collaboration. On behalf of the more than 90,000 men and women of Northrop Grumman, I am honored to receive this award. Thank you, and I look forward to continuing our partnership.
Good evening and good morning. I'm Craig Chapman, Chairman of the American-Australian Association. The American-Australian Association is committed to advancing our country's most valuable resource, human capital, to unlock creative new solutions to global challenges and improve the quality of life for all Americans and Australians. As Hugh Jackman noted earlier, one of the most important aspects of our work, perhaps the most important, is the AAA Scholarship Program, which spans 3 of 4 strategic pillars: graduate education, veterans, and the arts. In addition, the AAA offers a number of Indigenous graduate scholarships to support Native Americans and Indigenous Australians undertaking study in any disciplinary field in Australia and the United States. With over 40 scholarships of up to $40,000 each given every year, we have awarded $12 million to date to over 800 recipients. We are overjoyed to be joined tonight by some of the amazing individuals this program has funded to tell you more about their groundbreaking efforts.
My name is Sasha Pasal. My family tribal name is Whaleboat.
My name is Shamindra Shotria.
So my name's Monka Ole.
My name is Mi-kaisha.
I'm Thomas Herdlicka.
I'm Graham Ackhurst.
Samantha Antola. Tess McGrath.
Marika Basani. My skin name is Warren, which means rain in my language.
Professor Mark Hutchinson.
I'm a Torres Strait Islander human rights lawyer from Australia.
I am a proud Jurrumbal Tongan woman, born and raised in Sydney.
I'm a military veteran. I was comms in the military.
I'm a medical scientist at the Adelaide Medical School at the University of Adelaide.
I'm a human rights lawyer and early career legal academic, and I'm also a 2020 American-Australian Association Aurora Indigenous Education Scholar.
I'm a AAA Veterans Fund Scholar.
I am the NOMAD Two Worlds Indigenous Art Scholar.
I'm an American-Australian Association Greg Norman Veteran Scholar.
2020 Australia to USA Graduate Wildfire Research Scholar.
I have always known that the reason that I was put on this earth was to do music. And I am currently studying recorded music at New York University in New York City.
I was going to go for the Master of Environment degree at University of Melbourne, It appealed to me because I think the planet could use a little bit of tender, loving care.
I am at University of Sydney, going to the veterinary school. My year 3 project involves taking photographs of the cassowary to identify individuals in the population.
I have a novel coming out next year about an urban Indigenous young man who's trying to figure out his identity.
I model risk and severity of wildfires.
I look into the genetics of rare diseases.
Light and its interaction with biology.
Indigenous conceptualizations of gender and sexuality and how that interacts with the law.
The socioeconomic and cultural impacts of climate change in the Torres Strait.
One of my projects that I worked on was the largest ever genetic resource to interpret rare disease variants. And this resource was so successful that now it's being used by all the clinical genetics labs in the world.
My end goal is to become an expert on Indigenous human rights at the United Nations. It's to give voice and strength and agency to the people of the Torres Strait.
The cassowary is endangered, so if this works, we can help bring the cassowary population back up.
The AAA scholarship really helps me to build a world where Indigenous people like myself, who are expressing diverse gender and sexual identities, are actually celebrated and valued rather than shamed.
My work has enabled the creation of the first objective measurements of pain, which is now underpinning non-addictive pain-relieving medicines. The AAA Fellowship got me to America. It really was the very beginning of that journey. There is no other fellowship scheme like the AAA Fellowship Scheme. It fills a key gap, which is critical for the future of science generally and for the engagement between Australia and US on multiple fronts.
The opportunity not only to be in another country, but also to connect with the AAA's network is really valuable as well.
The fellowship's only for a year, but it was sort of like an ongoing relationship. It's given me a platform for more people to hear about my research and getting that research out there.
I came from a lower middle class family and we couldn't afford education. So I think the AAA was really important, especially for someone like me. Like, I feel so much better knowing that, pretty much this whole year is paid for by them.
The scholarship I've received is something that I am continually humbled by and will be forever grateful for.
Learning from another culture ends up giving you a great foundation of also wanting to give back.
I think donating to the AAA is one of the greatest things you can do, honestly.
I hope that young Indigenous women can look at my experience and go, she did that, so can I.
I certainly could not have taken advantage of going to Melbourne to study if it had not been for the generous donors.
That small gift today suddenly transpires into a lifetime of returns.
What we do now has definite impact on future generations.
Well, I'm delighted to introduce the first artist of the night. A self-described city kid through and through, R&B soul singer-songwriter, Mi-kaisha grew up on the streets of Sydney's music scene. Mi-kaisha is one of Australia's most dynamic young emerging artists and a passionate activist using her musical talents to engage, inform and incite debate about issues affecting Indigenous people. Her music has been played on Triple J and local radio stations across the country, and she now reaches an international audience with over 5 million views on YouTube. Mi-kaisha is our current AAA-NOMAD Two Worlds Indigenous Arts Scholar, studying for a Bachelor of Fine Arts at the Clive Davies Institute of Recorded Music at New York University. We are so excited to have a member of the AAA family perform for us tonight, and to introduce many of you to a performer that will soon hopefully be a household name in both our countries and potentially around the world. Without further ado, here's Mi-kaisha.
I shouldn't be feeling this way, but you came in my life and opened my eyes. You made me feel some type of way I cannot describe. I'm writing these lies. Truth is, I ain't got no clue what it is to be loved or be someone's boo. Praying that it's you I'm hanging around, 'cause you make me feel new, like old times. Wish we could rewind. You make me feel new. Stop wasting my time, come and be mine. You make me feel new, like old times. Wish we could rewind. You make me feel new. Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I feel you don't see me for all that I am and all that I've done. I don't mean to sound petty, but I'm deserving more. You promised me more. Truth is, I ain't got no clue what it is to be loved or be someone's boo. Praying that it's you I'm hanging around, 'cause you make me feel new, like old times. Wish we could rewind. You make me feel new. Stop wasting my time, come and be mine. You make me feel new, like old times. Wish we could rewind. You make me feel new. Yeah, yeah. You make me feel new. Come and be mine, come and be mine. Come and be mine, come and be Come and be mine, come and be
Now to introduce tonight's honoree, Mr. Peter Farrell. It is the CEO of ResMed, Mick Farrell.
Thanks, Jane, and thank you to the AAA for all that you do to support the partnership between Australia and the United States. My dad founded this company, ResMed, in a management buyout of technology from Baxter Healthcare for just $1.25 million in angel funding. ResMed here in 2020 has an annual revenue of greater than $3 billion and a market capitalization of greater than $25 billion. That's over 35 billion Australian dollars of value in this company. That's not a bad return in 31 years. ResMed's purpose is really clear. We help people sleep better, we help people breathe better, and we help people live better lives away from a hospital, preferably in their own home. In the last 12 months, we helped over 115 million people in 140 countries worldwide. All credit for this doesn't go to Peter Farrell, and it doesn't go to Mick Farrell. It goes to 7,500 ResMedians in the US, in Australia, and beyond, serving those people in 140 countries worldwide. But every company needs leadership, and this company was started by one man and his vision. I love the founder of ResMed because he's the founder of ResMed, but also because he's my dad. So congrats, Dad, on this well-deserved award. And now, here on video to say a few words is the inimitable honoree himself, the ResMed founder and chair, Dr. Peter C. Farrell.
Let me say that I'm really delighted to receive this award. I mean, it's unexpected. And then I think of people like, such luminaries as Rupert Murdoch and Greg Norman and so forth. and it's nice to be included with that group. But I'm delighted to receive the award and will be the honoree for 2020. And the two countries are sort of bonded at the hip in a way, particularly since we're probably two of the most recognised democracies, and certainly in terms of longevity on the planet. I mean, obviously the US is a little older, 1776 and so forth, and we're more in the late 1800s. But we are committed to democratic principles. And also, Australia wouldn't be here without the United States. If we go back to the World War II, the Coral Sea Battle, we'd all be speaking Japanese if it wasn't for the United States. So there's gratitude in Australia. Similarities in culture, not identical, of course, but enough similarities to really bond. States, I came here many years ago in the late 1960s as a grad student to MIT, and had 3 children born in North America, a daughter born in Montreal, Kathy, a son born in Boston, Paul, and another son, Mick, who you've just heard from, who was born in Seattle. And they went to high school in Sydney, and the 2 boys, Michael I've mentioned, and also Paul, went to Babson for a couple of semesters, also in the Boston area. And I've spent a lot of time here in Seattle, San Francisco, but I'm not there now, but and obviously San Diego and Boston. Now, ResMed was started by Colin Sullivan, who's an MD, PhD pulmonologist, who worked for a number of years in Toronto with a guru in respiratory medicine. The guy that I was an undergraduate with at the University of Sydney, Chris Lynch, found Colin, and we were doing, I'd been an academic at the University of New South Wales, the inaugural director of the Graduate School for Biomedical Engineering. I was a very junior professor at the University of Washington. Chris Lynch, who was with me, said, look, there's this guy treating snoring sickness at the University of Sydney Medical School. He seems to be the real McCoy. And I said, snoring sickness? And I kind of rolled on my back like a straight cockroach. I said, you must be joking, wearing this jean jockey stuff. He said, no, the guy seems to be a serious player. And he insisted that I go and see him, which I did. And so he started to tell me about sleep apnea and how it affected the body dreadfully, and that if you had it long enough untreated, you could get type 2 diabetes, or you would get it. It's not one of it is the major cause of high blood pressure, etc., and a lot of other related diseases. So I was talking to Colin, and I said, how many people do you think suffer from this? He said, oh, I don't know, but he said, it's at least 2% of the population. And I said, wow. I was coming from Baxter, where it was 0.2 prevalence. We had $1 billion business. So as an MIT-educated engineer, I went 0.2 to 1 billion, 10 billion. Even if it's only 5 billion, this potential is huge. So I invested Baxter's money into it. Baxter sold off the division that we were developing for. We ended up paying $1.25 million total to Baxter. So we fast forward to today, we have 7,800 employees in 140 countries. ResMed has grown into where we're now 26 billion in market cap. Our revenues are over 3 billion. You have to be persistent and determined. Stay the course, as long as you're on the right horse, that is. Luckily, we're just started. It's like a marathon, and we're just lacing our shoes. And I said that when we went public in 1995, and I'm saying it again, we have not started. So thanks again, and I will leave it there.
Now, the show may be over, but there's still time to give. You can donate to the association or place a bid at the silent auction on the giving portal until noon in New York on Wednesday, November 11th. For those of you in the US who enjoyed an Australian gift basket, courtesy of your hosts, I extend sincere thanks to our generous donors. Penfolds Wine, Starwood Whiskey, Australis Barramundi, Chez Vous, The Good Crisp Company, Boundary Bend, Boomerang Bites, Bluestone Lane, Arnott's, and Terramare Prime. Once again, here's AAA President John Berry.
The support provided by each of you from this gala will make an enormous difference in helping the association continue its important work, funding programs and educational scholarships that support the next generation of medical researchers, scientists, innovators, and leaders. Together, we can create a better future for us all. To our honorees and education scholars and alumni who joined us virtually from all around the world, and to each of you, on behalf of the board of the American Australian Association and our chair, Craig Chapman, thank you sincerely. I hope you've had a wonderful evening. We look forward to seeing you, hopefully in person on November 9th next year, for another memorable benefit. Thank you and good night.